I am preparing for the challenge. But the servers must be open. Okay.
Jerusalem, ikayalami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Jerusalem, ikayalami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Dawo yami ayikholana, ubuso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze, zuhambe nami. Dawo yami ayikholana, ubuso wami
See?
awukholana.
I've done it.
This is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. These words are usually said during a wedding ceremony or something on those lines. But when you get your own baby or you get pregnant and the baby comes out, wow! The babies, they look like you. They have some features that represent you, either by color, sex, or even how they behave. Then this scripture tends to make more sense on those lines than where it was actually intended. Welcome to Cradle to Campus. This is your one-stop family shop which offers spiritual, emotional, and mental orientation into the family conundrums that sails through child developmental stages all the way to adulthood. My name is Amos Otieno, and together with my wife,
Kiki Otieno.
we will be your host today, and we are grateful that you are subscribing, that you are viewing, you are doing the likes, because we know that we are learning together and it helps us also to continue going strong. Now, when we were praying for our baby, man, the first thing that we needed to pray about was a great gyna. One who is God-fearing, one who loves people, not just the money. And lo and behold, God didn't fail us. In our journey, we came across a special gyna who has become a close and dear friend of ours. Today, I introduce you to a great doctor right here.
So thank you so much, Pastor. We really appreciate your value that you're adding for people throughout the country and throughout the world. My name is Dr. Wanjohi. I'm a gynecologist and I work in Nairobi, primarily in Mater Misericordia Hospital, but also in private practice. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome.
Yeah. Karibu sana daktari.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you here. Yeah, and just like the way Amos has said, when we were having our baby, we really prayed because, you know, we've had many stories and, you know, it's a very anxious moment when you're going to have your baby. And the person that you really pray for is the doctor who is going to birth the baby. And, you know, we thank God even for the journey and just the fact that you're able to meet you in theater in that case. Yeah, but the one thing that really stood out for me is the post-delivery care. I just felt you're very exceptional. You kept in touch with my husband. You kept following up, you know, how I'm doing, how the baby's doing. And we are so grateful. And, you know, viewers, you are on for a treat. And man, this is an amazing, amazing doctor. So I have some very personal questions that I want to ask you. Prior to me meeting you, I had this opinion that an older doctor, you know, is better. You know, and man, I want to give a shout out to all the young people there doing you're doing, you know, whatever you're doing, giving your best. We are the future of this nation. And today we have Dr. Victor here, Wanjohi, who is a true representation of what young people can be able to do.
Absolutely.
So Daktari, you're very passionate, you're very hardworking, and you don't just give the service, but you give with all your heart. What is it that keeps you going? Or where does that motivation come from?
So my motivation is just to serve others. So to try to provide value to them in whichever way possible. So I always try to find a way how I can meet the needs of anyone who I'm serving, even though it's maybe even my relative at home or anything.
Yeah.
I'll try to go the extra mile.
Wow.
That's my motivation, just to add value to someone's life.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, and for sure you do that. So in the recent days, we've had, schools closed, and as a result of that, one of the things that has really been, maybe a shocker, for lack of better word, is the teenage pregnancy.
Ooh.
And we've seen many teenagers, we've seen the numbers, they've been very alarming. And I would want us to start there because this is a family show and the numbers have been very alarming. What's your take about, the teenage pregnancies?
So, as our viewers may know, is that as soon as somebody enters puberty, both for boys and even for girls, there is a risk that they can become pregnant because their sexuality begins to express itself. Now, due to multitude of factors, some of them, and primarily include maybe an upbringing where these things were not talked about. So it is very important that for these teenagers, we don't bury our heads in the sand. We highlight these issues which are prevailing in the society today so that they don't fall victim because their sexuality is coming up and they don't have the correct guidance. So you find once the schools are closed for a prolonged time, like this time of COVID-19, you find now the teenage pregnancies are increasing throughout the country. It's something that all parents should be very aware about. Other factors, perhaps more minor, maybe a lack of education, maybe poverty in the society. But primarily is this teenager has no skills to navigate through their sexuality.
Wow. I don't know, did you have this conversation with your parents about sex when you are a teenager?
Well, that is where trouble will begin. You will find everybody else to talk about your sexuality apart from your parents. Or those people who are, or anybody who's a friend to your parents. You will stay clear. That is, okay, that was our setting. I don't know about dog, but you just escape because of the teaching in school. I think from class 6 going up, those used to be in home science and other social studies. They would help you to know, parts of the body, and then they would then give you the warnings. It was always extreme warnings. Like you will get, gonorrhea, sexually transmitted diseases. But you see, the problem is when you experiment, you sometimes realize maybe the disease didn't come. So and as we know, the teenage mind, if it's rewarded, you want to go for it again and again and again, and the risks are thrown off the window. So I appreciate what Doc is saying, that this is a conversation that we must have at home. Do not leave it to the government only, or the society out there, but home, in the house.
Wow, thank you so much. My story is similar story. I didn't have like a grown-up, apart from my home science teacher then, those of us who went to school then, teaching us about the changes in the body. But to the parents out there, this is a very great conversation that you are the best person to have it with your daughter or or with your son. Because, unlike what we think, sexuality or the way we are made in the image of God. And as much as it may look a bit embarrassing to talk about it, this is something that our kids are very willing, or or they are very eager to listen,
To learn, yes.
and to learn from their parents. So I want to challenge you parents, anyone who is listening, just like the doctor has said, let's feed our teenagers or even preteens, because they're getting puberty,
yes.
12,
8,
11,
9,
8,
10,
9,
yes.
let's begin having these conversations, because they're going to help them when they get the right information. And talking about that, there's a lot of information on social media. People are on phone most of the time. They can access so much information which might not be true.
Exactly.
And which might not give them the guidance that they need during that time. So Daktari, what are some of the side effects, especially to the body of a young girl who is getting pregnant already, who is engaging, not even just getting pregnant, because nowadays they know, they can use whatever, to make sure that you're not getting pregnant. Nowadays watoto wa siku hizi ni, they are very, kuna vitu mingi, wanajua vitu mingi. But what are some of the negative effects from a gynecological aspect of engaging or becoming sexual active at a younger age, maybe in your teen years, especially on the body, for both the boys and the girls?
So that's an excellent question. So one is, as Pastor put it, that they are the reward centers in the brain.
Yes.
So they are going to get addicted to getting that reward system.
Yes.
That all the time, if I engage in something, I should get a reward immediately. So it will make them less able to persevere.
Wow.
Like maybe through their studies, to persevere through maybe a difficult part in a relationship. Their reward centers already are telling them that I need to get rewarded after 5 minutes, after 1 hour. But now it's 2 days and I've not yet gotten any reward from this hard work which I'm doing. So I just want to give up. Number two is, if somebody can get teenage pregnancy, the bones for the girl, they are not well formed. So these bones will not be able to carry the pregnancy, maybe up to 9 months, and even might not allow for the delivery process to take place. So another thing is now...
Sorry, before you move to the other, does that have an effect on the baby, on the body, the fact that they're not able to carry the pregnancy to term? Does it affect like the body parts?
No, just during that pregnancy period.
Yeah.
During the pregnancy period, there are also diseases which attack the young girl. For example, they get there's a higher risk of high blood pressure in pregnancy. So you'll find a lot of small girls who get pregnant get high blood pressure in pregnancy, and which can be even deadly to them. So for boys, apart from the reward system, then they kind of get away unscathed. However, because now we have maybe caused an effect on the girl, so there will be a ripple effect on the boy, because the boy is now the one to bear that burden, maybe of that girl who has a teenage pregnancy. Yes.
Or the shame and such kind of things.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Daktari, for that. I remember, I had a conversation with a doctor once, and he was telling me about the effects of young girl engaging in sex at an early age, in terms of how it affects them, with cervical cancer. I don't know if you can shed some, on that.
Okay, so cervical cancer has been shown that it's spread through a virus called human papilloma virus, and this virus is spread sexually. So a young girl who gets human papilloma virus will be at a greater risk when she gets it at a younger age, because there is an incubation period of up to 10 to 15 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
So we always advocate, before this girl becomes sexually active, the government is giving free human papilloma virus vaccines to anybody who is not yet sexually active. and they are able to protect themselves from getting cancer of the cervix.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for that information. So
Yeah.
does that mean that it's the boy who is the
carrier.
The carrier?
Yes, the boy child is the one to spread it to the girl child.
Wow.
And then the important thing to know is the boy will not have any effect of that HPV, but the girl is the one who is going to get the cervical cancer. So it's very tragic.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, as you can hear, there are some things that we have to note down in teenage pregnancy. I pray that the teens who are watching this morning, or rather today, this program today, that when you get pregnant, there is actually a probability of you losing your life because you are pregnant when you are young, especially during birth. But also, on the boy's side, there's a challenge as well of feeling ashamed or shouldering premature responsibility. You're not ready for it. It's overwhelming for no reason. And these things, they come because we have engaged in sexual activity. As well, because our brains are still growing, the prefrontal cortex is still growing, and baby, you called it what? That the limbic system is very active and very attracted to things that reward your body. It is very easy for you to be addicted in sex, meaning that you'll not be able to sustain a marriage, you'll not be able to sustain a steady relationship, because if you cannot get it when you want it, then you'll want to look for another alternative, which makes you unstable as a lover. I believe most of us don't want to take that direction at any one point. And finally, as well, because the male is the carrier of the HPV, Doc, did I say it right?
Yes.
Yes, you want to be careful, or better still, just abstain, so that when you're going through the marital process, you can go through all the testing that is needed so that you are ready, both health-wise, to engage in sex in a safe setting when you are mature enough. And now to our devotional of the day, which comes from the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3. We read from verse 1 all the way to 13. And the Bible reads, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear down and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What does the worker gain from his toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on men. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the hearts of men, yet they cannot fathom it. What God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for men than to be happy and to do good while they live, that everyone may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all this toil. This is the gift of God." Amazing. The Bible is saying that God has designed seasons for everything under the sun. The supremacy of God, His almighty power. We have seasons to which everything under the sun are subject to. But God has also given us the gift of choice on how we can respond to the seasons that He has created. And we definitely know that the way we respond will determine whether we enjoy or do not enjoy. Yes, today we are trying to subject our family equilibrium to the ebbs and flows of the seasons that God has created under the sun. We know that it doesn't matter whether you are a teen or a parent, we are all subject to these seasons. But how we respond really matters. Today we started our program discussing teen pregnancies that have been witnessed in the last few months of COVID-19 out of 2020. Very discouraging, very challenging to think through. But how then would we have better responded to them?
Wow, thank you so much for the scripture. And the one verse that is really striking out for me is verse 11, which says that God makes everything beautiful at its own time. And you know, when we think about teen years, there's a lot of changes that are going on, as we mentioned earlier, you know, in the show. And the truth is, teen years, there's a lot of peer influence, there's a lot of peer pressure, there's a lot of hormonal, changes. And that it's at that time, even the sex hormones are very active. But also from what the doctor said, when we train ourselves to engage in sexual activities at a very young age, because of the brain development, what happens is we train our brain to say yes to anything, and you know, instantly. We are just wanting instant reward, you know, and it's very easy to end up into different addictions. And for me, my encouragement for the teens who are watching, you know, or listening, or even the teen parents, it's very important to train ourselves as teenagers, or even the parents to train their kids to exercise self-control, you know, to be able to say no to how the body is telling you, engage in very meaningful activities, you know, such as basketball, football, you know, physical activities that will keep your body and your mind preoccupied. And you know, because of that, we'll find that by the time we are getting into marriage, it's going to be a very beautiful season, because we are engaging in sex activities in the right context and with the right person for that matter. Thank you so much. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking our videos. Thank you for the comments. Please let us know, you know, what you'd want to hear, areas that you need us to improve, and keep subscribing. Thank you so much. God bless you.